today we're just focusing on the facial expressions. These designs are in 3/4 view. Then you would start to expand on the design by adding things like ears, hair. I'm going to start from the ground up. So I will draw several random spheres in 3/4 view. So I'll choose a different pencil. I'm going to use the basic brush all the way back up to the top. Choose this one. Turn off all of the effects. All right. So we'll start with one basic shape, which is a sphere. So everything has this sort of ball shape in it. And to make it a sphere, you need to take a line, bend the line, take this line and put it here. This will start to show 3-dimension on paper or in 2D. Now take another line, bend it in the middle, and put it here. This is called 3/4 view. And if you notice, we were just looking at Homer Simpson designed in 3/4 view. Most cartoon characters are designed in 3/4 view. Games or film, there's always going to be a 3/4 view, but there's also going to be front views and side views. You will design the whole thing. Usually the designers start by drawing, but some designers will eventually, a character, or they call them concept artists as well, will eventually take the characters and maybe also design in a 3D package like ZBrush. Okay, so if we take this basic spherical shape, this represents this part of the skull, the top part of the skull. So if you're looking at the skull, it represents this top part, not the jaw. So I'll use the stamp tool, S, and create 5 of these. And yes, for every program that you're using, do start to use all the tools related to that program. As many tricks that you can use for that program. So we have 5 heads, or spheres. Now, for these structures, we're going to add these other forms. So a circle is flat, a square is also flat. These are on single planes. Triangle is flat. Cylinder, which will look like a rectangle from side view. If you add XYZ axis, so that's not exactly the names for it. This is like the Maya name for it. It could be depth, height, width. And many books for hundreds of years have described this. This is something that you'd see with Maya, so I'm talking about it, XYZ. So if you add that, it becomes, it's basically 3 planes put together like this and like this. Take those 3 planes, put them together, they cross and meet in the center, and that's where you get 3-dimension. So to make it as this currently is flat, 2-dimensional, and now we'll make it 3-dimensional by adding the X, Y, and Z axis. By the way, all of these shapes come from the cube. It's where everything comes from. You can do a cone, or you can do a pyramidal shape, cylinder. So all of these equal characters or form. You combine all these to make different types of form. So just thinking of those forms we just talked about, just imagine different types of shapes added to this. So here's a jaw. That's like a typical sort of jaw with a neck. Add a cylindrical shape here for the neck. You can add some forms for hair or horns, whatever you want to think of it as. That's like conical shapes. You can add some type of form for the ears. Let's try a different one. This will have a bigger cubic sort of jaw. Now, as soon as you pull this form outwards, I'm thinking of a form coming out. But what is its three-dimensionality? So you take the y-axis and continue to wrap it around this form so you can see the form. What is that? What is that form? And here's the neck. And we were talking about stereotypes. So yes, these are stereotypes. Stereotypes come from how people translate the majority of something. So it's not necessarily positive in all cases, but a bigger chin can represent several types of things in artworks, or a square can represent strong. A circle or a sphere represents something that would be soft. Triangles represent something that's maybe more dangerous. So if you put a triangular horns with this, then this becomes a strong sort of dangerous character because the cubic shape is strong. The horns are dangerous, but it doesn't mean it's not it could still be the protagonist in a story. Just because it's strong and dangerous doesn't mean it's the antagonist. Okay, so let's give it some ears. So there's two shapes. Let's try a different kind. A lot of ideas will usually come from things you've already read or seen. And so then you get a lot of art that seems to imitate other artwork. To be completely original is kind of difficult. So part of being completely original is the person's own hand movement, because your individual hand movement as you draw or create art in itself creates a type of style. So even if you're trying to copy or imitate something else, it may look different simply because your movement is different, because everyone's individual. But when you're working at a studio collaboratively, you'll have to imitate some things. Why am I drawing horns on everything? I don't know. All three of these have horns. Or maybe it's not a horn. Let's take that away. I'll give it something else. I like fantasy characters in sci-fi, so that's why. It still has something on its head. I don't know if that's... Take that away. Let's give it some hair. And I also like pointed hair for some reason. Everything has pointy ears. Jeez, predictable. Let's give this one a beard. Character designer would be responsible for designing the shape of everything with the character, and that takes a lot of time. So for instance, I don't know if anyone's played Mass Effect, but the helmet design alone for the character, for the main character, is over 200 drawings and over 200 sketches just to come up with that helmet. And then there's multiple versions depending on what show or program you're looking at. So these are sketches, and so this is the form, the starting point. These are the sketches, adding the cubic shape, spherical shape, triangular shape to this. So I haven't defined them yet. If you want, you can now put a little bit more definition. So randomly going to sketch on like eyes, nose, ears, but still as a sketch. But this So this is all still within the sketching process. But where's the nose? Where's the eyes? Where's the mouth? So on this layer, still sketching, it's the third part of the sketching stage, another step. And just going to sketch the form, but I'll sketch it a little bit lighter because that helps. So we have the center line coming down like this, but this might have a contour edge. We'll talk about contour a little bit more like this. On the outside, the 3/4 view of the head, this corner of the eyebrow and the cheek, those are very important shapes on a 3/4 view. And define the chin a little bit differently if you want. You can use angles or curves, depending on the type of character you imagine it to be. Now, we talked about eyes. Where do the eyes go? Do you guys remember when we talked about eyes? Eyes always go on the x-axis. So for each of these characters, we want to find this bottom of the eyes line right here and wrap it around the head like that. And it's usually curved if it's a 3D type of character. So then we'll put the eyes sitting on top of that like this. Eyes are their own design as well. So there's a lot of time that goes into designing eyes. Where do the eyebrows go? Well, that you also need an axis for the eyebrows and the bottom of the nose and the center of the mouth. And if there's hair, the hairline. So there is hair. So you mark off these points. So just like in life drawing, you have the top of the head. So everything you're studying in life drawing, this is where it applies to character design. And we have eyebrows, bottom of the eyes, bottom of the nose, center of the mouth. But you can place that wherever you want for your character, but just know what they are. This is hairline, this is eyebrows, and this is bottom of eyes, this is bottom of nose, this is center of mouth, and this is bottom of chin. You'll also want to know where the ears are placed. So once you figure out where you're going to put that, here's the bottom of the ears. You can do the top of the ears, bottom of the ears. So all of these measurements, very important. I'll keep that. And this is something that you would have to understand yourself, how that relates to your character. And you're creating it, so you can move it around if you want it to be. Just be aware of where it is and what it is. So it's continue sketching. What is the, I don't know what style this is, but this is the shape of the nose, center of the mouth. There's also the top lips and the bottom lips. If you want to define that, you don't have to. Some styles like anime, they don't design that at all. They'll have a single line for the mouth, and maybe the nose is not even there. So it depends on what style you're going for. And where's the eyes? Bottom of the eyes are here. Eyebrows. Bottom of the nose. Into the mouth. Hairline. So I always want to know where those things are. You can also think of this as groups of muscle. Like what's the muscle on the between the eyes, the nose, the eyebrows? What's the muscle around those areas, and draw them, sketch them as clumps, like the chin, for instance. So this is the facial structure. You guys take it a lot further than this. I'm teaching you this to teach you how to make your own characters. The facial expressions come from the emoticon. So let's just go back with this. So emoticons, if you're having trouble coming up with the facial expression, draw an emoticon of a happy face, sad face, surprised, angry. That will help you come up with the facial expression in the fastest way. And write the words: neutral, happy, sad, angry, surprised. I will apply that to one of these heads. And so we do a clean line of this one. And a contour line, and the cross contour line is any lines that go across the surface. Let's do the painting. I'll keep it simple. So to paint it, you can paint it several ways. One is if you have a solid line around the entire drawing, use the wand tool, W, to select the outside space, then Control-Shift-I to invert it, and choose Select, Modify, Contract. This will push the selection in by 2 pixels underneath the line, and then choose whatever color you want to fill it with. And put that on to the color layer. Let's paint the hair. Okay, so this was going to be the head for this character.